President Park Geun-hye is off on a two-nation tour with stops in India and Switzerland. This trip will focus on economics. A government ministry wants records on Japanese wartime sexual slavery adopted to UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. And fears of future fires at the historic GeunHye village have authorities looking into ways to better protect cultural assets. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Wednesday, January 15th. I'm Luke Clary. President Park Geun-hye is on the first state visit of the new year with a stop in India and later the Davos World Economic Forum in Switzerland. The president is expected to focus on boosting the Korean economy and attracting investment.
President Park Geun-hye left for a state visit to India this morning. She will hold summit talks with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and discuss cooperation in science and technology as well as the telecommunications sectors. She's expected to focus on upgrading the two nations' comprehensive economic partnership agreements and resolving issues that Korean firms are having while conducting business in India, such as POSCO steel. Park will also be the very first Korean president to make a state visit to Switzerland on the 18th. She is to discuss cooperation between the two countries' small businesses with Swiss President Didier Burkhalter. She will also tour vocational training sites. Then, from January 22nd, Park will attend the World Economic Forum in Davos, where she will speak at the opening ceremony about entrepreneurship and her administration's vision for a creative economy. She will also meet a number of global corporate chiefs, including the head of Cisco, to attract foreign investment.
체류 시간의 거의 대부분을 글로벌 CEO를 1대1로 만남하는 시간으로 채워질 가능성이 많습니다.
She will work towards promoting Korea's business and investment-friendly environment, as well as expanding economic cooperation with other nations before returning home on the 23rd.
Prosecutors are demanding that CJ Group Chairman Lee Jae-hyun be sentenced to 6 years in prison for tax evasion on a massive scale. The chairman's lawyers are asking for leniency.
Prosecutors are demanding that CJ Group Chairman Lee Jae-hyun be sentenced to 6 years in prison and levied a fine of $103 million. They're accusing Lee of evading $50 million in taxes by means of overseas slush funds and embezzling corporate funds amounting to millions of dollars. The prosecutors say that instead of faithfully paying his taxes, Lee concealed them in a bogus company. They added that Lee must take responsibility and help the CJ Group recover its reputation, which has been tarnished because he treated it as his own property. Lee's attorney said that the chairman did raise slush funds, but spent the money solely for the company to protect its business rights. He also says that pressing him with criminal charges simply for evading taxes is wrong because the authorities can once again levy taxes on him at any time. Lee's arrest was suspended because he underwent a kidney transplant. In his final statement, he asked the court to give him the benefit of a doubt because he feels remorse for his wrongdoings. He cried when he asked the court to give him some time to do something for his company, citing his health problems. Meanwhile, the prosecutors are also demanding that CJ Group Vice President Shin Dong-gi be jailed for 4 years. Shin was indicted along with Lee. The final verdicts for Lee and Shin will be announced on February 14th.
Railway union leaders that were issued with arrest warrants for their part in the nation's longest rail workers' strike finally turned themselves into police.
11 executives of the Railway Labor Union, including its chief, Kim Myung-hwan, leave the building of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions and turn themselves over to police. It has been a month since warrants were issued for their arrests.
저희가 오늘 출두한 이후에도 우리 파업의 정당성과 철도 민영화의 부당성을 알려나기 위해서 철도노조는 노력할 것입니다.
The labor union leaders plan to turn themselves in Tuesday morning following a news conference. However, this wouldn't happen without a 6-hour standoff with police who were there to arrest them. Earlier, 2 other union leaders, Park Tae-man and Choi Eun-chul, turned themselves in. Now all of the 35 railway union leaders, whose arrest warrants had been issued earlier, are in police custody. They decided to turn themselves in because they realized that they would hit numerous obstacles in overseeing the union while being on the wanted list. Police say they will thoroughly investigate the union leaders.
The Ministry of Gender Equality and Family is seeking a new inclusion on the UNESCO Memory of the World Register, records relating to Japan's wartime sex slavery of Korean women.
The government will seek to register the so-called comfort women on the UNESCO Memory of the World of Records. These women were forced to serve Japanese troops as sex slaves during World War II. The Gender Equality and Family Ministry says it is surveying related records scattered in Korea, Japan, and China for compilation. After the records are organized, the ministry will apply to register the records to the Cultural Heritage Administration in Seoul for UNESCO designation as early as next year. UNESCO approves the listings for its Memory of the World Register every other year. The Cultural Heritage Administration will select items for entry and submit the application to the UNESCO Secretariat. UNESCO will decide on the designation the following year. The ministry anticipates a positive outcome. It's also reviewing filing a joint application with Japanese civic groups and other countries, including China and Southeast Asian nations, that had their women forced into sexual slavery by Japan. To this aim, it will form a task force, hold an international symposium, among other publicity efforts. This March, Korea will also submit an application to seek a UNESCO designation for a KBS TV program that sought to reunite long-lost family members. The decision will be announced next year.
The number of mobile phone subscriptions surpassed 54 million in Korea last year. With the saturated market at home, Korean mobile service providers are turning their eyes toward Africa.
It's no longer a rare scene to see people with cell phones in Africa, whether in the woods, on the street, or in the office. With increased investment in information and communications in Africa, mobile service subscriptions are sharply up from 80 million Africans in 2004 to 654 million last year. This marks an over 8-fold growth. Given the continent's population of 1 billion, there are still over 400 million potential customers. This is why mobile carriers in the UK and France are competing to advance to Africa. Korea's KT Corporation also signed a wholesale contract on the Long-Term Evolution, or LTE, wireless mobile service with Rwanda, worth some $140 million last year. KT possesses the experience and the technology as a stable provider of the latest LTE service. Korean cultural contents are also being looked at as a means to draw in the attention of African consumers.
관련 컨텐츠나 서비스 쪽도 같이 맞물려 들어가야 된다고 보고 있고요. 포화가 멀었다고 해도 그 투자에 따른 그런 수익이 얼마나 들어올 것인가는 조금 더 신중하게.
There's high expectations that Africa can be the next big thing for the Korean mobile industry if uncertainties regarding the continent's politics, culture, and institutions can be overcome successfully.
In an effort to improve their economic chances, many college students try to transfer into better schools. The Education Ministry has clamped down on the practice, making the competition fiercer than ever.
Some 50 college students take an exam for college transfer applicants. The average competition rate among transfer students at this university is 23-1. The number of students trying to transfer to better schools is growing since one's educational background still largely influences which job one gets upon graduation. However, Korean colleges had cut the number of their transfer students by about 30% last year. That's because the Education Ministry has strengthened its admissions criteria for college transfers in order to protect the nation's provincial colleges.
전체 모집 인원 대비 몇 퍼센트 뽑아라 어느 대학 이런 걸 나중에 최종 지정해 주거든요. 그것 때문에 숫자가 좀 줄어든 것 같아요.
As a result, the average competition rate among transfer students at the top 7 universities in Seoul this year is 39-1. For the most popular majors, such as business and mass communication, the competition rate reaches 143-1. The students were baffled by the Education Ministry's guidelines because their hard efforts to transfer to better schools were all done in vain. They believe that they are the scapegoats of the educational system's politics that have nothing to do with college transfers.
뿌리 박혀있는 관습을 어찌할 수는 없잖아요, 개개인이. 편입 준비생만 해도 제가 알기로는 한 몇만 명 이상 되는 걸로 알고 있거든요. 그런 학생들의 의사와 그런 걸 다 싸그리 무시하는 건 아닌가.
This year, more than 20,000 students applied to take the exam for college transfers, which account for 3% of the entire student population.
A series of fires in the UNESCO World Heritage Site of GeunHye Village has sparked fears future fires could be devastating. Authorities are looking into better ways to protect cultural assets.
The GeunHye village in Andong was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage in 2010. However, a fire recently broke out in the mill of the village's largest residence, Pukchongdek, ruining the thatched roof. Had firefighters arrived just a bit later, the entire building would have been engulfed in flames. Pukchongdek is known as an important cultural asset. There have been 3 fires in GeunHye village within the last 4 years. Last month, one was apparently ignited by a tourist at Puyongdae inside the village. In 2010, the ancient house of Ponnam was also damaged by a fire. The entire village was designated as a non-smoking zone in September of 2012, but no violators have been caught by the local authorities, although most of the recent fires were caused by cigarettes. The Cultural Heritage Administration and the city of Andong have finally decided to install automatic fire extinguishers in 7 additional major cultural sites. Currently, only 4 locations are equipped with them.
근본적으로는 이제 그 예산적인 문제가 뒷받침되고 있는데 하이 마을이 세계유산으로 등재된 이후에는 주로 이제 그 테라가오 보수에 대한 초점이 좀 맞춰지고.
Since GeunHye Village is a popular tourist destination and an important cultural heritage, this calls for even more careful and effective protective measures.
In entertainment, K-pop supergroup Big Bang has wrapped up a successful concert tour in Japan. This and more coming up.
Big Bang's 2-month concert tour in Japan's 6th largest dome stadiums came to an end on January 13th at the Kyocera Dome in Osaka. The Korean boy band's concerts drew in a total of 771,000 people and recorded almost $70 million in ticket sales. Big Bang is the 3rd band to complete the 6th dome tour, following Japan's pop rock group Mr. Children. Nicole Jung, a member of K-pop girl group Kara, is leaving the band. Kara has sold 3 million albums in Japan and is one of the most popular groups in the Korean K-pop music scene. The management agency said Nicole decided to leave Kara after 7 years as her contract is set to expire on January 16th. Another Kara member, Kang Ji-young, also announced that she will not renew her contract when it ends in April.
Sledding. There are a few better ways to recall the unbridled joy of childhood in the winter. Here's an introduction to some of the best sledding spots in Korea.
There's one clear way to know you've become an adult. When it snows, your mind is immediately overcome with traffic worries. Children are thrilled to see it snow. Sledding is one of the most popular winter activities. In the past, a big and thick plastic bag was all you needed to sled down a snowy hill. Here are some special sites reserved for sledding and other winter activities. This is a sledding park in Seoul. In the summer, it was a swimming pool attracting some 10,000 people a day. Now it's a sledding site. People ride on big tubes down the hill. In contrast with flat plastic sleighs, the tubes turn and spin all the way down. The riders don't know where they will end up.
하나도 안 무서워요.
Even if you are scared of sledding down a hill, don't worry. There are other activities for your enjoyment, such as scooters, bikes, and mini trains. Among them, this is the most popular attraction. Here, people fish pond smelts with nets. The limit is 15 fish per person. A service is available to fry up the smelts on the spot for an extra fee.
집에서 너무 가깝고요. 그다음에 여러 가지 체육거리가 있어서 좋은 것 같고 특히 가족끼리 오면 참 좋은 것 같아요.
This is a sledding site in Suwon. People wait in line early in the morning. This site is popular because it's so cheap.
네, 여기 입장하는데 1인당 1,000원이거든요.
It's less than $1 per head. The sleigh looks familiar. The old-fashioned sleighs add to the fun. You can move the sleigh with your arms, and it's speedier than it looks.
너무 신나요.
Some people are good at sledding, but there are poor riders as well.
이모부가 하는 거 잘 봐.
Maybe he could use a little more practice.
예전에는 잘 탔는데 새로 타려니까 너무 힘드네요.
For children who are too young to sled by themselves, their fathers are on standby to pull the sleds round and round.
걸음받기 힘들지 않아요?
무척 답답해요.
A mother pushes her son around.
아기가 아빠를 더 좋아해갖고요. 그래갖고 그렇게 타요, 저희는.
You don't need to be good at sledding. There are really no fixed rules. What matters is simply having fun.
시골에서나 이렇게 경험할 수 있는데 이렇게 도심 속에서 이렇게 애들 신나게 경험할 수 있어서 너무 좋은 것 같아요.
A special festival is held at Hwaseong Hangung, a palace from the Joseon dynasty. The audience is pleased with the martial arts show featuring performers dressed in Joseon-era military uniforms.
썰매도 타고 공연도 볼 수 있고 아이들한테 우리의 전통을 알릴 수 있어서 정말 좋아요. 너무 재밌었어요.
The weather is cold, keeping many of us indoors. But with all the seasonal activities out there to try, it's worth facing the winter chill.
Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Have a great day.